Hey guys, Helen Hartsmith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. I probably sound a little weird and I apologize. These seasonal allergies are kicking my hiney. I've been taking my meds and there's like a ton of pressure here, so I'm hoping that my voice holds out long enough to do this video. So let's get started, shall we? But first, let's have a sip of tea, right? Ooh, I put a lot of sugar in that. Woo, that's pretty sweet. Got my favorite tarot card mug. And we're rocking some straight up peppermint tea today because that just kind of makes me feel good. Oh my goodness, that's sweet. Dang. Alright, the book that I'm going to be reviewing today is this book here called Entering the Summerland. Customs and Rituals of Transition into the Afterlife by Elaine McCoy. So I feel like the very first thing that I kind of have to say is that as of the time where I am recording this video, Elaine McCoy has recently crossed over. So at this point, I would like to say, hail to the traveler, to Elaine, and may your way be lit, and may you come to find your loved ones and ancestors with ease. Many blessings to you. I got this book used off of Amazon a few years ago, and this is actually a book that's been on my in-process reading for quite some time. And so at the beginning of this year I said, you know what, I am going to clean out that list and I'm going to finish all the books that I have started and get them off of the currently reading list. And I guess now is a good time to say that I've been using Goodreads as a way of kind of cataloging my books, the books that I've read and the ones that I'd like to read and things and currently reading and things like that. It's a really interesting website. It also is an app that you can have on your phone or tablet. This video is not sponsored by Goodreads. However, if Goodreads would like to sponsor an ad, I'd be happy to do so. But I've been using that to help me keep track of books that I might not own that I would like to read, so that helps them stay on my radar. So that's kind of cool. I've also been using a library thing that a lovely lady named Moira told me about, and that one I use to help me keep track of my books that I do own. And so if I'm shopping and looking at a book and saying, do I own this book? I can scan the UPC, and if it says duplicate, guess what? You got one. So there we go. Anyhow, that was kind of a little weird sidebar. Anyhow, this book was published in 1996. This is a Llewellyn book. This was actually part of a series done by Llewellyn on World Religion and Magic series. That's what World Religion and Magic series is what it was called. So you can do some, I'm trying to remember because I looked at what was in that series off the top of my head and I'm not remembering. I want to say that I think there was a voodoo book. I'll try to remember to put a list of the books and links to purchase them if you're interested in the description box. So as far as I know, I'm not sure if this book is still available to buy new, but as I said, I purchased this used, and so this was a good copy. I banged it up a little bit in my reading of it, but it was in fine shape when I purchased it. So that is an option sometimes with books on Amazon, just to let you know. And who knows, you might even be able to find it in a New Age store at some point. So this book it's 191 pages of text, and then there are numerous appendixes. You'll see that's how many appendixes there are in the back of the book. I really enjoyed this book. This year, I think after my mom's passing last year, I really wanted this year to be a time when I kind of focused a little bit more on death and what death means to me in my own personal practice. And I have a number of books on the dead, and so instead of like skimming through and just I wanted to really finish all of them and have a good understanding and deepen my understanding of death, because that's kind of like one of the, the mysteries remaining to me. And so it was important to me to read this book. I also have The Mighty Dead by Christopher Penczak that I will be hardcore reading this year. Well, it's on my list to do. And I also have The Pagan Book of Living and Dying by Starhawk and M. Maca Nightmare. So those will be, in process reading soon. But as far as this book goes, first of all, I really liked how Elaine laid it out. So I've got the table of contents open, so let's just kind of talk a little bit about each of the chapters as the book goes through. So you start off with pagan concepts of death and the afterlife. That was really cool because she talked about there's multiple pagan perspectives. So what does death and the afterlife mean to us? So I thought that was a great place to start. Then she went into pagan funeral customs, both old and new, and she had some really great ideas there, especially if the person who had passed was pagan and maybe their family wasn't. She gave some like really nice little subtle ways for that person to be honored, as well as if you as a pagan family member are honoring someone who wasn't pagan, there are some nice suggestions there. One that really stood out to me was after family members and close friends had been given an opportunity to kind of take what mementos they wanted of the loved one that had passed, it was suggested that you have a table set up, and for instance, say the person who passed collected fairies, for instance. You might, have a table set up with the fairies that were left over from that collection, or it doesn't have to be just a collection, but have those personal items on a table. And so during the funeral process or the memorial or whatever happens to happen for that person, you welcome folks to take something from this table if they want a memento of the person who has passed. I really thought that was kind of a nice tribute and a nice way of opening up to someone to have some little memento. Because, as we go through our lives, we each have relationships with people that maybe your family or close friends didn't know about. Maybe your mail person was someone that you had a really great relationship with, and maybe you chatted for 5 or 10 minutes, when they dropped off the mail, and, maybe they were deeply hurt by your passing. And so it gives them an opportunity to have a memento of you that they can kind of carry through with their life. So I thought those were kind of nice. The next chapter deals with rituals to assist a dying spirit. And this is the kind of information that as a clergy person, I'm interested in having, because I feel like as a clergy member, it's my responsibility to be able to serve the community in all stages of life. And so there's some great suggestions in this chapter about rituals to help ease a person who is passing, to help release the spirit of one who is dying, a ritual to help the dying live and fight another day. I thought that was a really interesting aspect, because what if the loved one is passing and maybe you're waiting for someone to get there so that they can say their goodbyes. And so maybe it was a ritual in order to give the person, that little little bit of a magical oomph to make it until that person could get there, if everyone was so inclined for that to happen, kind of a thing. I thought that was very nice. The next chapter is all about grief, and that, for me, the passing of my mom is still a little raw, and so that chapter kind of gave me a bit of understanding and a bit of relief and a bit of knowledge that I needed at this point in my journey. So I got a lot of comfort out of that particular chapter. Just a moment. Sorry about that. The next chapter, she talks about different holidays from around the world and how different time period and different parts of the world today, what kind of death observations and rituals happen. So of course she talks about the Dumb Supper and the Dia de los Muertos and things like that, but she also talked about the Feast of Sekhmet and the Feast of Hecate, the resurrection of Osiris, things like that. So that I thought was really cool to have a chapter that talked about not only old ancient festivals, but like how are they observed if they are in modern times, and it was from all around the world. So I found that a really nice addition for this book. Then she has chapters on honoring ancestor spirits and animal spirits, and then personal acts of remembrance that you can do. Looking back at the life lived, I thought that was kind of neat. Then there were chapters on rituals for a solitaire. So if you're a solitary person and you want to observe the passing of a loved one and you're by yourself, she had some sample rituals as to how to do that. And then of course she also did that from a coven standpoint or a group standpoint, as far as a larger group of people wanting to do a passing over ritual. So that was kind of neat. Then the appendixes talk about music for passing over rituals, and man, I thought that was like really cool because, you know, I have done a couple of memorials for people, and it's really tough to kind of build up your repertoire of things that might be needed, because when you're a clergy person, a lot of times these family members, they don't know what to do when a family member has passed, and so they look to you for guidance. And so I thought that having some appropriate music, from whether it was classical or rock, there were some nice suggestions, and it's great to have a resource that you can go to, that you can either add to and put into a book of shadows or a book of light like I have. That I thought was a small detail that, you know, you don't really think about until you're in that moment. So I thought that was neat. There was also an appendix that deals with resources and networking, and I think that kind of had, let me see, what was that one about? So there were periodicals. So that might be a little dated because periodicals and magazines, unfortunately today we don't use them like we did in the 90s. So that might be a little dated. But there was also a list of grief support groups that may or may not still be in existence. But it was just like some resources that you could kind of help point someone in, or if you could go to, and things like that. The next appendix dealt with all kinds of deities that are associated with death. So that I thought was helpful too. If you had to do a ritual for someone who might have followed the Egyptian pantheon and you didn't have knowledge of it, of, you know, what deities to turn to, then there's a resource there for you to find them. And then there's a pretty extensive notes section in the back along that she deals with the footnotes. So that was really cool. And there's a glossary. I mean, this is just, I don't see books like this put together with appendixes and, you know, extensive bibliographies and notes and things like that. It just doesn't happen anymore because we're kind of moving away from that kind of writing. But I thought this book was really valuable. Yes, it was sorry, excuse me. Yes, it was published in the mid-90s. And so, you know, here we are over 20 years later. I still think that there's a lot of relevant things in this book that a practitioner today could find useful. So I'm going to give this book a 4. It was good, but I know that I've got a couple of other books that I want to read on the same subject, and I know that there's other books out there that I don't own. I think I might have a Dion Fortune book on death, but I'm not sure. I know that I think Kathy has it. If I don't, but so I want to give a little bit of room in case there's a better book out there. So I'm going to give it a 4 brooms, but it's creeping. It's creeping up on that 5 just because. So there you go. There you have it. There is a book review for Entering the Summerland. I will put a link in the description box to Amazon to purchase this, and there you go. So if you enjoyed this book, if you enjoyed this video or learned something from it, give it a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up just to kind of help keep me thinking today, apparently, because like I said, these allergies are kicking my hiney. Oh my goodness. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you come back here to the channel and check out everything that we got going on. All right. And there'll be links in the description box too for social media, my Instagram, Kathy's Instagram, things like that. What's your favorite book, if you have one, about pagan passing? Let me know, because like I've shared with you what I intend to read, but is there something else out there that I need to be looking at that I don't know about? I'm always looking for that too. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching, and thanks for taking the time to walk the path for a little while with me. Until next time, blessed be.